Let's get brutally honest. Most people who are being silently judged have no idea it's happening. You walk into a room, speak your mind, or even post online, and instantly, people put you in a mental box. And here's the kicker: they don't tell you. They just quietly decide you're not worth taking seriously. That silent judgment, it doesn't come from your skills, your looks, or even your intelligence. It comes from small, corrosive habits that send one message loud and clear: I can't respect you. If you don't cut these habits out fast, you'll keep wondering why people ignore your opinions, overlook your potential, or treat you like background noise. The moment you understand these habits and kill them, you'll watch the way people respond to you change almost overnight. One of the most damaging habits is speaking without weight. This isn't about having an accent, vocabulary size, or even public speaking skills. It's about the energy, intention, and value you attach to your words. Too many people treat conversation like a faucet that's always on, words spilling out without direction, purpose, or structure. They fill silence with noise, explaining and re-explaining, telling stories with no point, or commenting on every passing thought. What they don't realize is that every unnecessary word they add strips away a little more of their perceived authority. The human brain naturally filters for what it deems important, and if you've trained people to expect fluff when you speak, they will stop listening before you even finish your first sentence. Psychologically, this ties directly to the concept of scarcity. What is rare feels valuable. What is constant feels cheap. Diamonds are valued not because they're the strongest material, but because they are rare. Your words work the same way. If you speak with intention, keeping your sentences concise and impactful, people will lean in. If you flood every conversation with verbal filler, people will tune you out. The tragedy is that some people have powerful thoughts, but they bury them under a mountain of words that dilute their impact. There's also a subtle power dynamic at play. Speaking with weight communicates self-control. It says you are not desperate for attention, not afraid of silence, and not trying to prove your worth with noise. It signals confidence, the kind of quiet authority that makes people want to hear more. In contrast, speaking excessively often reveals anxiety, insecurity, or a need for validation, all of which lower your perceived value in social and professional circles. To change this, you must master the art of intentional speech. Pause before you speak. Ask yourself if your words will add value, solve a problem, or inspire action. When you choose your words like a craftsman selects tools, you build a reputation for clarity and strength. Silence, when used strategically, becomes an amplifier for your voice. When you finally speak, people will listen, not out of politeness, but because they know you have something worth saying. That is the moment you shift from background noise to someone whose presence commands respect. Over-apologizing might seem like a harmless sign of politeness, but in reality, it erodes your presence and authority faster than almost any other social habit. Every time you say sorry when no wrong has been committed, you broadcast a subtle but powerful message: I am unsure of my right to be here. This constant self-minimizing trains people to see you as less confident, less capable, and less worthy of respect. It's not humility, it's self-erasure disguised as courtesy. And while you may believe it makes you appear considerate, it actually plants seeds of doubt in the minds of others about your competence and strength. At its core, over-apologizing comes from an ingrained fear of rejection or disapproval. It's a preemptive move to soften the possibility of conflict, to make yourself seem non-threatening, to secure acceptance before anyone has the chance to push back. But here's the uncomfortable truth. People rarely respect those who constantly seek to preemptively appease them. They respect those who own their space without shrinking in advance. When you apologize unnecessarily, you hand over your power piece by piece until you've trained the world to expect you to back down, even when you've done nothing wrong. The psychology behind this is simple but devastating. Human beings take cues about your value from how you treat yourself. If you treat yourself as someone who must always seek permission or forgiveness to simply exist, others will follow that lead. If you speak and act with quiet certainty, even when you're imperfect, you signal self-respect. And self-respect commands attention. Over-apologizing doesn't just damage how others see you, it damages how you see yourself. Every unnecessary sorry reinforces the belief that you are somehow in the wrong just for taking up space. Breaking this habit requires shifting from a mindset of guilt to a mindset of gratitude and clarity. Instead of apologizing for being late when the delay was out of your control, express appreciation. Thank you for waiting. Instead of apologizing for asking a question, simply ask it with confidence. Replace the language of submission with the language of ownership. This not only changes how others respond to you, but begins to rewire your own sense of worth. Here's the bold reality. Silence or directness in place of constant apology can feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is the price of growing into someone who commands respect. You are not here to shrink yourself into the smallest, safest version possible. You are here to stand in your truth without begging for the right to do so. By eliminating needless apologies, you teach the world to expect strength from you. And when people see you as someone who does not bend at every breeze of disapproval, they begin to see you as someone who cannot be overlooked. That shift doesn't just change how they treat you. It changes how you carry yourself through every room, every conversation, and every challenge you face. The way you carry yourself speaks before your mouth ever opens. Slouching into the background, shrinking your posture, and moving as if you're trying to take up as little space as possible sends a message that you may not even be aware of. I am not important here. People notice it instantly. They might not consciously think that person lacks confidence, but their brain registers your body language as low status, low energy, and low influence. Without meaning to, you've told the room exactly where to place you in their mental hierarchy, and it's not at the top. Human beings are wired to respond to visual cues. Posture, stance, and presence signal more about you than your words in the first moments of interaction. An upright spine, squared shoulders, and a grounded stance signal authority and self-assurance. Conversely, slouched shoulders, inward-turned feet, and avoiding eye contact communicate submission and uncertainty. This isn't about arrogance or trying to look dominant. It's about embodying a physical alignment that reflects inner strength. When your body says, I am here with purpose, people take notice before you've even said a word. The psychological impact goes deeper than perception. It affects how you feel about yourself in real time. When you physically shrink, your mind follows suit. You become quieter, less decisive, and less likely to assert your opinions. On the other hand, when you intentionally open your posture, you tap into a feedback loop where your body reinforces confidence, and that confidence changes how you act. People respond differently to you because you're showing up differently. This creates a ripple effect. Respect begins with self-respect, and your posture is a loud declaration of how much you value yourself. Many fall into the habit of poor posture because they believe it keeps them unnoticed and safe. They think blending into the background avoids judgment or conflict. The truth is the opposite. People don't respect what they can't see. If you're invisible, you're irrelevant, and irrelevance kills opportunities before they even reach you. Life doesn't reward those who hide. It rewards those who show up with presence. To break the cycle, you must consciously inhabit your space. Stand tall not just for appearance, but as a physical manifestation of the fact that you belong where you are. Keep your chest open, your gaze steady, and your movements intentional. This is not about faking confidence. It's about aligning your physical presence with the reality that you have value to offer. When you own your posture, you own the impression you leave behind. People may forget your words, but they will remember how you carried yourself. The difference between being overlooked and being taken seriously often begins with the silent statement your body makes. Stand as if you know you deserve to be there, because the moment you do, the world starts to believe it too. Gossiping and complaining are two habits that silently corrode your reputation and credibility, often without you realizing the damage being done. Every time you speak negatively about someone behind their back, you send a message that you cannot be trusted. People instinctively know that if you talk about others in their absence, you are just as likely to talk about them when they're not around. Gossip might feel like harmless bonding or entertainment in the moment, but it creates an invisible distance between you and those who hear it. They may smile, they may even join in, but deep down they place you in a mental category reserved for the untrustworthy. Respect and gossip cannot live in the same space. Complaining is equally destructive, though it wears a different disguise. It often masquerades as venting, honesty, or just sharing how it is. But the constant release of negativity doesn't just drain you, it drains everyone around you. People naturally gravitate toward those who make them feel hopeful, inspired, and energized. Chronic complainers have the opposite effect. They become emotional anchors that weigh down the mood and shift the focus from solutions to problems. This signals to others that you lack control over your circumstances and would rather dwell in dissatisfaction than take action. Over time, it frames you as powerless. and people lose interest in following or supporting someone who constantly paints themselves as a victim of life. The psychological truth is that both gossip and complaining feed a scarcity mindset. Gossip thrives on the idea that someone else's mistakes or flaws make you feel better about yourself. Complaining thrives on the belief that the world is happening to you instead of being shaped by you. In both cases, you are subconsciously telling your brain and everyone around you that you are reactive instead of proactive. This erodes your influence and makes people look down on you, even if they never say it aloud. The shift begins when you refuse to indulge in these habits, not out of forced positivity, but out of self-respect. Choose conversations that elevate instead of tear down. When tempted to gossip, redirect the topic toward ideas, goals, or constructive perspectives. When you feel the urge to complain, challenge yourself to bring at least one solution to the table. This doesn't mean ignoring reality or suppressing frustration. It means leading with the mindset that you are capable of improving any situation rather than being defined by it. Eliminating gossip and complaining will instantly set you apart because these behaviors are so common that people notice when they are absent. You'll be seen as someone who protects the dignity of others and maintains composure under pressure. That kind of presence makes you magnetic in any setting. The respect you gain will not be loud or theatrical. It will be the quiet, enduring kind that earns you trust, influence, and opportunities others never see coming. Chasing validation is one of the fastest ways to lose respect without even realizing it's happening. On the surface, it can look like normal human connection, sharing your accomplishments, posting updates, fishing for a little encouragement, but beneath it lies a hidden dependency that people pick up on instantly. When your sense of worth is tied to the approval of others, you unconsciously broadcast that you're not secure in who you are. People might smile, nod, or even give you the praise you're looking for. But behind that, they start to view you as someone who constantly needs feeding, someone who can't stand on their own without applause. The psychology is simple but brutal. Humans value what is self-sustaining. When you constantly seek validation, you're signaling that your value is externally powered. That makes you less reliable in the eyes of others because they know your energy, confidence, and even mood can be controlled by the opinions around you. It puts you in a position of social debt. You are asking for something before offering anything of equal or greater value. People are drawn to those who radiate certainty, not those who are constantly looking for a mirror to confirm they exist. This habit often starts subtly. You share something not because you want to express yourself, but because you want the reaction that follows. You measure the worth of your work by how many compliments you receive. You find yourself subtly adjusting your words, style, or opinions to get the nod of approval from whoever's watching. Over time, this chips away at authenticity. And once authenticity is gone, so is trust. People can sense when your actions are fueled by the desire to be liked rather than the conviction to do what's right or true to you. Breaking the cycle of validation seeking requires a hard shift in perspective. You must learn to anchor your value in your own standards, not in the fluctuating tides of public opinion. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or shutting out others. It means filtering every piece of praise or criticism through your own self-respect first. When you live by your values, your work, and your truth, you don't need someone else's approval to know you're on the right path. Ironically, the moment you stop chasing validation, you often receive more of it, because people are naturally drawn to those who don't appear to need them. The truth is, constant validation seeking is exhausting, not just for you, but for everyone around you. When you free yourself from it, you move differently. You speak with conviction instead of caution. You take risks without the safety net of guaranteed applause. You own your victories quietly and your failures openly, without needing either to define your worth. And in that space, respect is no longer something you beg for. It's something you command simply by existing as your unshakable self. That's when people stop looking down on you and start looking up to you. Lack of boundaries is one of the clearest signs that someone can be taken advantage of, and people notice it immediately. When you say yes to everything, agree to things you don't want to do, or let others interrupt, overstep, and take without pushback, you're silently communicating that your time, energy, and priorities are negotiable. This might feel like kindness or cooperation, but to the wrong people, it reads as weakness. Even to well-meaning people, it signals that you place yourself at the bottom of the priority list, which makes it harder for them to see you as a leader or equal. Psychologically, boundaries are more than just lines. They are declarations of self-respect. Every time you hold a boundary, you're showing the world that you know your worth and that you expect others to treat you accordingly. Without them, you send the opposite message, that other people's needs, moods, and demands take precedence over your own. This doesn't just affect how others treat you. It reshapes how you see yourself. When you constantly compromise your limits to avoid conflict or please others, you chip away at your own sense of identity. You start to operate as an accessory to other people's lives rather than the main character in your own. The harsh truth is that people who lack boundaries often believe they're being generous, but generosity without limits quickly turns into self-sacrifice. And self-sacrifice without choice isn't noble. It's silent desperation. It trains others to expect you to bend, and once that expectation is set, it's incredibly difficult to reverse. You can end up feeling drained, resentful, and invisible, all because you were afraid to say a simple no. Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away. It's about creating the space for healthy, respectful relationships. When you define what you will and will not tolerate, you filter out those who would exploit you and draw closer the ones who value and respect you. Boundaries clarify your role in any interaction, ensuring that your time and energy are invested in ways that align with your goals and values. They act as a silent contract that says, I respect myself, and I expect you to do the same. To develop strong boundaries, you must first recognize your right to have them. Too many people seek permission to protect themselves when, in reality, that right is non-negotiable. Once you accept that, enforcing boundaries becomes an act of courage rather than guilt. You stop explaining or justifying every no. You stop shrinking your needs to make others comfortable. And you begin to notice that the more you respect your limits, the more others start to respect them too. The moment you set clear boundaries, you stop being the person people can manipulate or overlook. You become someone whose presence is defined by strength, clarity, and self-possession. And in that transformation, people can no longer look down on you. They have to look you straight in the eye. Nervous fidgeting and constant distraction may seem like small quirks, but they have an outsized impact on how people perceive you. Every tap of the foot, glance at your phone, or shift of your weight communicates something deeper than restlessness. It tells the people around you that your attention is fragmented and your presence is unstable. In a world where focus is rare and highly valued, the inability to be still and fully engaged instantly lowers how others rank you in importance. People instinctively respect those who seem centered, grounded, and in control of their attention. Psychologically, fidgeting is often a physical manifestation of internal anxiety. It reveals that your mind is racing, that you are either uncomfortable in the moment or eager to escape it. The trouble is that human beings are highly attuned to subtle behavioral cues, and they draw conclusions from them whether you intend it or not. If you can't maintain stillness, people may interpret that as uncertainty, lack of preparation, or even dishonesty. Likewise, checking your phone or scanning the room while someone is speaking sends a silent message that they're not worth your full attention. That single impression can be enough to weaken trust and diminish your influence in both professional and personal settings. Being fully present has a powerful psychological effect on the people around you. When you lock in with eye contact, keep your body steady, and respond with intentional movements, you create a sense of safety and importance for the other person. They feel heard, valued, and understood, and in turn, they assign more value to you. This is not about rigid stillness or unnatural performance. It's about aligning your physical energy with the message you want to send: I am here, and I am in control of myself. Breaking the habit of nervous fidgeting starts with self-awareness. Most people don't even realize how often they disengage physically because it has become a subconscious pattern. The first step is to catch yourself in those moments and bring your focus back to the present. Ground your body by planting your feet, relaxing your shoulders, and breathing deeply. Remove distractions when engaging with someone. Put the phone away, stop scanning for something more interesting, and give the moment your undivided focus. There's a quiet confidence that comes from stillness, and it's magnetic. The people who command a room without raising their voices are often those who have mastered control over their physical presence. They understand that in a noisy, restless world, calm is a rare and respected power. When you stop fidgeting and start owning your presence, you immediately stand out. Others will feel it, even if they can't put it into words, and they will respond with greater respect. Being grounded is more than just a physical state. It's a declaration that you are someone worth listening to, someone who values the moment enough to give it your full self. Making everything about yourself is one of the fastest ways to push people away and lose their respect. It might not always be intentional. You may think you're contributing to the conversation, relating to someone's story, or offering advice from your own experience. But when every discussion somehow circles back to you, it creates an unspoken imbalance. People begin to feel like they are not being heard, that their thoughts and experiences are just setups for you to speak again. Over time, this erodes connection because respect is built on mutual recognition, not constant self-focus. Psychologically, this habit is often rooted in the desire to be understood and validated. When you turn the spotlight back onto yourself, you may believe you are building rapport, but in reality, you're redirecting attention rather than sharing it. The human mind craves acknowledgement. When people share something personal, they want to feel that their moment is theirs, not just fuel for your next story. If you consistently interrupt or redirect to your own experiences, you send a subtle but powerful signal that you value your perspective above theirs. This behavior also reveals something deeper, an underlying scarcity mindset in conversations. If you feel the need to constantly insert your story, it may be because you fear that without it, you'll fade into the background. But ironically, this habit achieves exactly the opposite. It makes you forgettable in the worst way. People remember how you made them feel, and if they consistently feel overshadowed, they will gradually distance themselves from you, both socially and professionally. The key to reversing this pattern lies in mastering the art of genuine listening. Respect is magnetic, and nothing communicates respect more than giving someone the full space to express themselves without interruption or competition. This doesn't mean you must stay silent the entire time, but your contributions should enhance their story, not steal it. Ask deeper questions, reflect their words back to them, and only share your own experiences when it truly adds value to the conversation. When you shift from self-focus to shared focus, something powerful happens. People begin to open up more, trust you more, and seek you out more often. You go from being the person they tolerate in conversation to the person they feel understood by, which elevates your influence naturally. It's not about denying your voice, it's about timing it so that your voice amplifies rather than competes with the voices of others. The truth is, conversations are not contests, and they are not auditions for attention. They are opportunities to build trust, connection, and respect. When you stop making every moment about yourself, you stop positioning yourself as the main character in every interaction and start becoming the kind of person people want in their corner. And when people feel seen, they don't look down on you. They look toward you. That shift changes everything. Neglecting your self-presentation sends a message long before you speak, and that message can either open doors or quietly close them. People may claim they don't judge by appearances, but human perception is wired to make lightning-fast assumptions based on visual cues. The way you dress, groom, and carry yourself is not about vanity. It's about signaling self-respect and awareness. When you appear careless or disheveled, it suggests you don't value yourself enough to put in the effort. And if you don't value yourself, why should anyone else? This doesn't mean wearing luxury brands or following the latest trends. It means taking ownership of how you show up in the world. Psychologically, appearance is deeply tied to perceived competence. Studies of human behavior reveal that people subconsciously associate polished, intentional presentation with reliability, discipline, and capability. The opposite is also true. When you look unkempt, people instinctively question your attention to detail and your ability to handle responsibilities. This reaction isn't always fair, but it is real, and ignoring it puts you at an immediate disadvantage in both social and professional environments. You can have the best ideas in the room, but if your appearance tells a story of neglect, those ideas may never get the respect they deserve. Neglecting self-presentation also has a subtle but powerful effect on your own mindset. The way you look directly influences the way you feel and perform. When you present yourself with intention, you carry yourself with more confidence. You speak with more authority. You feel more prepared to handle challenges. But when you consistently show up as if you just rolled out of bed, your body language often follows that energy. Slouched posture, low eye contact, and diminished presence. Your external state becomes a mirror for your internal state, and people will treat you accordingly. Some people resist improving their self-presentation because they believe it's superficial or just for show. But this perspective misses the point entirely. Self-presentation is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about aligning your outward appearance with the respect and value you hold for yourself. It's an act of self-acknowledgement that communicates without words that you care about the impression you leave behind. When done with authenticity, it doesn't feel fake. It feels like an honest extension of your identity. Making this shift doesn't require a massive wardrobe overhaul or hours in front of a mirror. It begins with consistency and care. Wear clean, well-fitting clothes. Keep your grooming sharp. Pay attention to small details like shoes, posture, and even scent. These elements may seem minor, but together they create a presence that people take seriously. The truth is, first impressions are rarely erased. If you give people a reason to doubt you before you've even spoken, you've already lost ground. But when your self-presentation reflects confidence and pride, people instinctively treat you as someone worth listening to. That respect starts the moment they see you, and it's yours to claim. Constant lateness is one of those habits that quietly chips away at the respect people have for you. On the surface, it might seem like a minor inconvenience, but psychologically, it carries a much heavier message. Every time you show up late, you're signaling, intentionally or not, that your time is more valuable than the time of those waiting for you. Even if that's not your intention, that's how it's perceived. People begin to feel disregarded, as if their schedules, commitments, and priorities are secondary to yours. Respect erodes not because of the few lost minutes, but because of the underlying statement your actions make. Punctuality isn't just about being on time, it's about reliability. In the human mind, reliability is deeply connected to trust. If someone can count on you to show up when you say you will, they'll start to believe they can count on you in bigger, more important ways. But if you develop a pattern of lateness, it doesn't just suggest poor time management. It plants doubt about your discipline, your organizational skills, and even your level of respect for the people you interact with. The silent thought becomes, if they can't manage something as simple as showing up on time, what else will they fail to follow through on? The psychological impact is twofold. First, lateness breaks rapport before the interaction even begins. The person waiting for you is already starting the conversation in a slightly irritated or disappointed state, which can color the entire exchange. Second, it subtly shifts the power dynamic. In some cases, people use lateness as a subconscious way to assert dominance or avoid discomfort, but in most cases, it simply communicates a lack of self-control. And self-control is one of the most respected traits in any personal or professional relationship. The truth is, being on time is a form of respect that requires no words. It says, I value you enough to prepare, to plan ahead, and to make sure I honor our agreement. It creates a foundation of trust without any grand gestures. When you consistently honor time commitments, people begin to see you as dependable, disciplined, and respectful, 3 traits that instantly elevate how you're perceived. Breaking the habit of lateness is less about squeezing more into your day and more about reordering your priorities. It requires seeing punctuality not as a burden, but as a non-negotiable standard you set for yourself. When you commit to being on time, you naturally become more organized, you plan ahead more effectively, and you remove unnecessary stress from your life. Over time, people notice, and they respond with greater trust, openness, and willingness to work with you. The respect you gain from punctuality isn't loud or flashy, but it's powerful. It accumulates silently, conversation by conversation, meeting by meeting, until one day you realize people listen to you more closely, trust you more readily, and value you more deeply, all because you mastered something as simple, yet impactful as showing up on time.